What's good, YouTube, man? We back with another video. Now look, man. I know I've been gone for a little minute, like a good little 2 weeks to a month. I want to say I'm sorry, man. Look, I ain't know it's gonna be. Nobody told me it's gonna be this difficult. Doing these videos, going to work, doing shit on the day. I ain't gonna fake it. I'm not gonna fake it. It's a little harder than expected. Definitely not impossible though. I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna make it with this shit. Let's believe. It's gotta be a little consistent. It's on my part. It's on my part. It's on my part. Y'all know what y'all can do though. To help motivate a nigga. Oh, bro, to motivate a nigga. Come on, bro. I ain't gotta say it. Y'all know that. JxmyHighroller, man. This is a long intro, man. Get your snacks, man. 20-minute video, not too long, but long enough. Let's get into
it. Is an NBA championship worth?
After 53 years, the Knicks are finally NBA champions once again.
Shout out Knicks.
A ring is a ring, but intuitively, we as fans know that not all rings hold the same value. I ask this question because 2 weeks ago, the New York Knicks did what many doubted they could, and they didn't just win the NBA Finals, they completely dominated in the finals on their way to their first championship in over half a century. And while fans celebrated and the city of New York rejoiced in their rise back to glory, there was one reaction to their success, and
honestly, before you get into this, or whatever you're about to say, if you feel, unless you was a Spurs fan, like a genuine Spurs fan, how can you be mad the Knicks won the championship, bro? Bro, they never won it in how many years? It's the 8th different team that won it. Why would you, I'm not a fan of the Knicks or the Spurs, but I didn't care who won. I was going to be happy regardless, or I was going to be cool regardless. OKC didn't win. Lakers, OKC didn't win. I don't give a fuck no more. You feel me? If you hating on Knicks, you just don't like sports.
Rejoiced in their rise back to glory. There was one reaction to their success and the culture of winning in the NBA that made headlines.
I like to know that greatness is validated. How do we know that any of the last 8 champions are actually validated because they have not done it again? Giannis is itching to get out. Boston is thinking about trading Jaylen Brown. They don't believe in their one championship. LeBron's one championship in LA was not enough. So why would it be enough for us?
Validate is the Larry O'Brien that I put on that shelf and stays there forever. That's the validation. The Lakers thing.
Oh, you mean participation trophy then?
I'm sorry, Larry O'Brien is a participant.
What point is he trying to make? Like,
if everybody gets one.
Yes.
So what, you want just straight dynasties in the NBA? I guarantee you he was a nigga that hated the Warriors. I guarantee you he was the same nigga that probably hated the Warriors. He probably hated the Spurs too. He probably hated Kobe and Shaq. He probably hated every single dynasty. Talk about he want dynasties and shit. Like, what are you talking about, bro? Does it validate each other? What do you even mean validate? Like, you not even giving them a chance to really try to go. It's been a lot of injuries. It's been a lot of trades, as you can see this season. Like, so for you to just say, oh, well, these teams haven't gone back to back, or none of these teams have went back to the championship. Why should we believe? You know, that shit don't really count, bro. Come on.
You heard that correctly. The pinnacle of the sport, the ultimate goal every basketball player sets to achieve from the first time they ever lace up, is nothing but a participation trophy. This, my friends, is a symptom of ring culture, when nothing matters but hoisting the trophy at the end of the season, and even that is invalid if you've only done it once. But ring culture fails to address one key thing. Not all rings are created equal. Dirk Nowitzki has one ring. but it was arguably the most difficult championship won in modern NBA history. It's held to such high regard, it might as well be 2 rings. But then there's Kevin Durant, who actually does have 2 rings, but he had to join an already polished, record-breaking Warriors team to get them. Dirk's 1 is almost universally regarded as greater than Durant's 2. And the same logic can be applied in different circumstances, even across eras. Which player is greater? The guy with 11 rings or the guy with 6? Probably the player who has 11, right? Well, what if the player who won 11 did it in the 60s when the league only had 8 to 14 teams? And what if the guy with 6 won them in historically dominant fashion in a much more competitive league? Going against everything you learned in math class, in some situations, 6 is actually greater than 11. But can this same exact logic be applied to today's league? If the evolution of the league makes it clear that Jordan's 6 is greater or at least equivalent to Russell's 11, then what is the equivalent to Jordan's 6 rings in today's NBA? 2 rings? 3? It sounds like a crazy concept at first. The idea of 2 or 3 rings vaulting a player into the same conversation as players who dominated an entire generation. You still gotta have that
dominance and that impact as a player. Because y'all don't talk about Robert Horry. He got 7. We don't talk about his nigga because he was on the bench. Of course, like he was a 6-man, like, or at least a role player. Like, you know what I'm saying? You have to have you have to have an impact on it.
Of basketball. But the further we get into this era of parity in the NBA, the more this idea feels like a reality. So how much is a championship actually worth?
Like, I could probably see a lot of people respecting Nikola Jokic's championship a lot more. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm gonna stop pausing, bro. I'm just talking.
Today's video is sponsored by Arena. Acting in your ditchy while something good. Jalen player code.
I think winning a guy winning 3 rings now in the 2020s with especially the second apron stuff, and I think it would be even in a weird way more impressive because everybody's better at putting together a team, and we also have more high-end talent, right? Giannis has only won 1 title too.
If Jokic wins 1 title and that's it, he's going to be the ultimate sort of barometer for this because the statistics are going to say he's a top whatever single-digit player of all time.
I think the big thing to remember when you talk about this stuff is what era was the guy in and how good was the league, how competitive it was, right? And I just wonder, like, is it just everybody's going to win 1 or 2 now going forward?
Ring culture has been a highly debated topic for a while now. The idea that rings are not just a measure of a player's greatness, but the only measure of a player's greatness. For as long as fans have been debating, rings have reigned supreme in measuring a player's dominance. In spite of everything a player does throughout his career, winning or not winning a championship will be the final verdict of his abilities. It is the ultimate barometer of how great a player is and was. But what do we do if that barometer breaks? What do we do when the criteria for measuring greatness isn't properly calibrated? If winning a ring in today's NBA is more difficult than it was in the past, and the weight a ring holds depends on how difficult it was to obtain, are we reaching the point where the NBA is so competitive and so deep that 2 or 3 rings can be as great as 6?
Or 11.
Parity, or a state in which things are equal, equivalent, or evenly matched, is a good thing. When things are more equal, more teams have a chance to win, more fans are engaged, and of course, more players have a chance to win. And right now, the NBA is seeing more parity both in terms of championship teams and even winning teams than it ever has before. Of course, this was not always the case in the NBA. Here is a timeline of players who had the most rings in the NBA in any given season, dating back to 1969 when Bill Russell won his 11th championship, a record that still holds up today and will more than likely hold up until the end of time. But similar to today, the 70s were also a time of growing parity in the NBA. 7 different teams won a championship over the course of the decade, and so going into the 80s, the active leader in rings had just 3. But it didn't take long for that total to grow again. By the mid-80s, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar held the crown before he ended the decade with 6 championships under his belt and passed the torch to Magic, who had 5. Shortly after, the Chicago Bulls took over the lead, and it was Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen who had the most championships of any active players clear up until the early 2000s. By 2005, the crown swapped heads between Shaq, Kobe, and Duncan up until 2016, when both Kobe and Duncan retired, and Tony Parker held the crown for a few seasons before retiring and LeBron winning his 4th championship in 2020. A couple years later, the Warriors won a ring in 2022, and since then, nothing has changed. Which leads us to where we are today, where among Hall of Famers and all-time greats, the active players with the most rings in the league today are LeBron, Steph, Klay, and Draymond, each with 4. But what happens when these players are gone? Soon enough, these guys will retire, and the next group of players—
I'm sorry, Jimmy. I gotta say, we better get LeBron too. Yeah, all that shit I was talking years before. It don't matter now. LeBron from France, LeBron. Come on, man. You know you want to play with big bro Steph. Come on. Yeah, I said it.
What happens when these players are gone? Soon enough, these guys will retire, and the next group of players will take the mantle as the league's legacy players. Jokic, Giannis, Luka, Shea, Tatum, all of these players with either 0 or just 1 ring. Now, we don't know how the next decade of basketball will play out. 1 or 2 of these players could go on a tear and win 2, 3 rings. But if the past 8 seasons is any indication of what's to come, even the greatest players in the league today may struggle to win more than 1 championship throughout the course of their entire career, which, according to ring culture,
it's kind of hard to really say anything about it because there's really no statistics to go with it. There's really no hard line facts to go with this. It's just, as over time, I mean, he's right. Competition has got better. Teams are more evenly spread out. Obviously, more games and whatnot, but you can't really go to injuries because, I mean, it's injuries every single year. Trades happen every single year. You can't really point to those, even though this year's or past these couple years, they have been kind of, you know what I'm saying? But this is kind of like a weird question, weird way to kind of analyze this.
Disqualifies them from being included among the true all-time greats of the sport. Are these current players simply not as—
How many players you know want to— I'm sorry, I'm pausing so much. I just got a lot to talk about, man. I'm talkative. I'm sorry. Stay with me, though. Stay with me. But like I said, man, look what you made me do. Now I fucking forgot.
among the true all-time greats of the sport? Are these current players simply not as great as those that came before them? Or are we misinterpreting the value of a championship altogether?
For joining us. This is incredible. You'll be back during the playoffs at some point, so we're looking forward to that. 7 rings. Can you just loan him one?
Just talked about him.
Nah, dog, you got to earn it. It would be right if I gave it to you, right? You did a lot of great things in NBA, but you know.
You heard the man. You gotta earn your rings. If there's any player that knows a thing or two about rings, it's this guy, Robert Horry. He's got the most rings of any player in modern NBA history. 7 championships in his 16-year career, and he hits some of the biggest shots in playoff history, thus giving him the nickname Big Shot Bob. And he said this to Tracy McGrady, who of course never won a ring. And by ring culture standards, this is a perfectly normal and applicable thing for Mr. 7 Rings to say to Mr. 0 Rings. There's only one problem. Robert Horry averaged 8 points a game in the playoffs, was not the driving force behind those rings, and only even started in 2 of those championship runs. Tracy McGrady is one of the 50 greatest players to ever lace up. This is the effect ring culture has on basketball. If you didn't know any better, you would think Charles Barkley was an absolute slouch the way Shaquille O'Neal addresses him on television, that his opinion on winning and dominating the field is invalid because he never won a ring. Charles Barkley was a league MVP, went toe-to-toe with MJ in the finals, and was one of the best players of an entire generation. When rings mean everything, not winning one, or in some cases not winning enough of them, means you'll always be one step below those who did, regardless of everything else you accomplished. Which begs the question.
Oh my God, imagine, I know a lot of people already said this, but imagine if AI got that ring from Kobe in it. You know how, you know what conversations, what were we having about this nigga? Niggas already got him sub-bar top 5, top 10 point guards. He get a ring against Kobe by himself? Oh God. Niggas might put him top 2 behind Curry. Behind Curry.
NBA is truly in an era of parity, and the evolution of the league now makes it nearly impossible for a couple of players to hoard multiple championships for themselves. How will we remember Nikola Jokic if he only retires with one? How will we remember Giannis Antetokounmpo if he only retires with one? Or Luka Doncic if or when he gets to that point? At this rate, will anyone ever get within reach of GOAT status? And is this era of parity really just an era, or is this just the new standard for the NBA and what's to come?
So is Wemby already out since he lost one? Is he already out the GOAT debate because he lost one? I feel like, I don't know. I think he could still be in it low key. Maybe
in the future.
From Dustin Nielsen, why is ring culture so much more prevalent in the NBA than in other sports?
I don't know why it's discussed so much in our sport, and why it's the A-all, B-all of everything. Like, okay, or if you won one, then you can't be in the same conversation with this person. It's like,
but that's a great point, because what you're saying is like, no matter what you have, you need more. No matter what.
Right.
No matter what, it can never end.
Yeah, a ring is a team accomplishment.
Right. We got to be careful sometimes how we can be so dismissive of a team, a player, an accomplishment, or a failure, because these are the best in the world, no matter how you slice it.
He doesn't have a ring. It's like, have you actually sat down and actually like really looked at this guy's career and what he was able to accomplish, you know?
This was LeBron's take on ring culture last summer on a podcast with Steve Nash. A sensible take on a highly debated topic. Rings are great. They are the pinnacle of the sport, but they shouldn't completely define a player's legacy. And I'm sure the reactions in response to LeBron's stance were just as reasonable and rational as his was.
Factually incorrect. I'm just saying.
Just because it was LeBron.
Took individual credit.
He wasn't wrong in anything he said. He was not wrong in anything he said.
Keep it right. Hey, no. So you might switch it up. You can.
Actually, people lost their minds, still clinging to the idea that rings are, in fact, the defining factor of a player's legacy. But if we don't know how to measure a player's greatness, and neither does LeBron, then maybe Michael Jordan himself might have some answers.
You're never going to say who's the greatest of all time. To me, I think that's more for PR and more for selling stories and getting hype. Jack and Tiger never played against each other.
So, Mike, you telling me in your heart you don't believe you the GOAT? You telling me in your heart you think LeBron, Kareem, Kobe better than you? Okay.
They never played in the same tournament. They never played with the same equipment. They never played with the same, length of golf course. I never played against Wilt Chamberlain. I never played against, Jerry West. To now say that, one's greater than the other is being a little bit, unfair. Yeah, Jack probably has 18 majors than Tiger's got 14. And I think those are when, that's how people are judging certain things. I won 6 championships. Bill Russell won 11. Does that make Bill Russell better than me and make me better than him? No, because we play at different eras. So when you try to equate who's the greatest of all time, it's an unfair parallel. It's an unfair choice.
What Michael is alluding to is precisely the flaw with using rings as a measuring stick for greatness. Ring culture tends to ignore context, the era they played in, the path a team had to go through, the fashion in which they won it, when in reality, it is the context itself that is the true measure of a player's game. Steph Curry is the greatest shooter of all time and arguably the greatest point guard of all time, and he's got 4 rings to prove it. But even for a player of his caliber, getting to 4 took an extremely unlikely set of circumstances to pull off. It took one of the greatest players of all time in his prime joining their 73-win team, as well as a historic salary cap spike in that exact offseason to create the perfect storm to build on their already championship roster. It took 2 completely unprecedented events for a generational talent to get to 4 rings. A similar sentiment could be said about LeBron, a top 2 player to ever touch a basketball, and he had to leave the team that drafted him, build a juggernaut in Miami, and put together the greatest comeback in NBA history just to get to 4 rings. And not only did it take extreme circumstances for these 2 to get 4, it took circumstances that are essentially impossible in today's league. Part of this is due to the natural evolution of the league and the sport, and part of it is by design. The irony of this clip and the take that came with it is that right before Vincent Goodwill said it, he actually explained exactly what makes championships today extremely valid.
I think dynasty is better for the sport because if we're going to look at the way that the NBA experienced its golden age, those 2 decades where it went from Magic and Bird and Isaiah in between to Michael Jordan, that's where you had the greatest explosion in growth. And it's not just because those guys hoarded the championships. Now you're legislating parity. The owners are saying you aren't allowed to be great for an extended period of time because look at Oklahoma City with Durant and Westbrook and Harden. They weren't allowed to keep their 3 guys together because the money says, okay, you drafted too well. You drafted 3 MVPs. You can't hold on to them.
Through a combination of smarter teams, better front offices, advanced analytics, deeper rosters, larger talent pools including international players, and rules set in place explicitly designed to prevent teams from building dynasties, it is harder now, or at least as I've said before, it is more equitable now to win a championship than ever before. This era of parity could very well be a phase in NBA history. Eventually, someone has to lead their team to multiple titles among this generation of great players. But we have evidence that what we are seeing now is only the beginning of what's to come. 2 years ago, the NBA introduced the second apron, a set of rules created in the 2023 collective bargaining agreement that has since made it virtually impossible for teams to build a great roster and keep that roster intact. Due to a laundry list of financial penalties and restrictions, in today's NBA, winning a championship is as difficult as it's ever been, and winning another one has become, at least to this point, an insurmountable task. In today's league, KD signing with the Warriors wouldn't even be possible. LeBron building a team in Miami wouldn't and couldn't happen. Running it back with the same proven core year after year isn't even feasible. If a prime LeBron or Steph or MJ were attempting to make real championship runs in today's league, in spite of their talents, the odds would be stacked against them and the path would be more difficult than it was 10, 15, 30 years ago. The NBA has literally created rules that force teams to choose between keeping their current roster intact and maintaining the flexibility needed to improve on their roster in the future. And we're seeing these rules crumble teams in real time. After winning a ring in 2024, the Celtics traded Kristaps Porzingis and Drew Holiday just to give themselves flexibility and stay below the second apron. The current rules of the league forced a championship team to immediately blow up their roster. The man who helped propel the Knicks to their title this season, Karl Anthony Towns, is only on the Knicks because the Timberwolves couldn't afford to keep him after making it to the conference finals. And we're only going to see more of this as teams continue to adapt to rules specifically made to prevent historic runs and dynasty contenders. If becoming the GOAT requires a player to match Jordan's 6 rings, or match LeBron's 4 for that matter, then fans of the NBA may need to once again reevaluate what a ring is truly worth within the context of when it was won. If winning only one championship, or even worse, winning none at all,
You know how great Curry was back in the nigga. You know what LeBron would do to these lame ass niggas nowadays? Like, oh my God, I will fucking go off. You know what LeBron would do to y'all lame ass niggas? Stop fucking playing with me. Curry? Nigga, he'll walk down half court, pulling on your bitch ass, lace it straight through your nostril. Fuck you talking about? Like,
Makes a player or a title run invalid, then we are dangerously close to disregarding an entire generation of players in the NBA. How much is an NBA championship worth? Well, if 30 years of evolution is the difference between Jordan's 6 matching Russell's 11, then maybe the last 30 years of the league's evolution is the difference between 2 or 3 today matching Jordan's 6.
I think people, nobody gonna agree on that though. That might be the reality of it, but nobody's gonna agree with it. Nobody gonna, they gonna look at that, nigga, they only got 2. Shut up, you only got 2, man. That's all they gonna say, bro, he only got 2. 1 MVP, so what? My nigga Curry got 2 and 4. Potentially 5. Like, what are you talking about? My body and mind, it's tricks. I say I'm fine, but really y'all let me know down in the comments, man. Y'all agree with them? Rings everything, or more individual stats matter? Y'all let me know. Comment down. Fuck. Hold on. Comment, like, subscribe, man. Post notifications. I'm gonna see y'all.